podcast? Talk. Hello. Welcome to the Fun or Nothing podcast. This is episode number 5. So far, so good on all these episodes. This is definitely a learning experience for me. I feel like I'm starting to get more comfortable in front of the microphone, in front of the camera, and I'm getting more almost solid in who I am, because when you get to see yourself on camera and hear yourself talk, you learn more about who you are. It's almost scary in the way that you would do self-observation work to see yourself. So I'm now suggesting to anybody that would like to get to know themselves better to just sit in front of a camera and record yourself and start talking and, express your opinions to other people, and then watch them and see how you feel about it, because it's very eye-opening. And so I'm really grateful to have a podcast. And, it was scary to start this, but now that we are on episode 5 and I have a lot of support, it's a journey that I will not go back on now. So I'm very extra happy to be here. But I wanted to take a moment to really express what this podcast is about. I'm still honing in on representing what I'm about to say, but I know as it goes along, it's going to continue to snowball into being more and more of a connection type club. So I want this podcast to be like fun. Obviously, a lot of fun. We can make jokes, and I get to giggle with a lot of my friends and just talk, and we can talk shit, and we can talk about anything that pops up. But I also do want it to be educational. I want to teach through humor. I love this lady named Rita Davenport. She always teaches through humor, and I've always admired that and kept her in my heart ever since I've seen her speak. And so if you know me in my daily life, I'm always making jokes. I'm always trying to make everything positive. I'm very good at spinning things into a positive, and I think that's maybe a specialty of mine, is spinning things into a positive. And I've always been like that since I was a little girl. And then I also want to use this podcast to support others. And so when we have people on, I like them to share about what they do, who they are, what their purpose on earth is, or what they feel their purpose is in the moment. So I like to share other people. I like to figure out who I can connect other people to. So that's one of the things that really gets me wiggling, is to meet somebody and then immediately try to figure out who I know that they would be a good friend to or an asset to their life. And I love being a connector. Some people call me the glue. And then I just want to express some perspectives that are maybe odd, and kind of show that there are so many different ways to view a scenario and to view situations and things going on earth. And so some of the stuff today I'm going to talk about is deep and not necessarily emotional to me, but can be very touching for other people to hear. And then there's some other things that I want to talk about that are just very surface, but just ways to view the world. And so bear with me. I'm, again, still learning how to talk on camera and keep everything organized, so I might be all over the place, but that is something I accepted going into this. I'm just going to get on and talk, and hopefully you guys enjoy what I have to say, and let me learn something from it. I'm Rebecca White. I am 42 years old. I have never been married. I've never had kids. I rebelled against the norms completely. I never wanted to be locked down to anything. I maybe had like baby fever one time in my life, and the very next day I met this beautiful woman who was in her 50s, and she had never had kids, and she loves her life. So it was like God swooped in and said, "Nope, Rebecca, that's not what you want." And I knew when I was 19 that I did not want to have kids. I knew a lot of things that were almost, they felt like intuitive downloads that you don't necessarily trust when you're younger, but as you get a lot older, you start to realize how important those intuitive downloads were, and that they were actually vibrationally stamped in my mind in the time that was a truth to who I was. And so now I really trust in those, by the way. I trust in those intuitive downloads when I get that lightning bolt type of like, oh, I know that this is going to be like this. I really trust in those, because pretty much everything I've ever wanted, everything I've ever expressed from those intuitive downloads has come true. And I feel like I have received everything I've ever asked for. And also that is my confidence in receiving in the future is I know that I'm going to get all the things, and it takes time. I don't, we have to develop patience. So I don't want all the food we can eat in one lifetime right now. That's an Abraham quote. We want it to come when it comes. Like, I guarantee you I will own a Portofino Ferrari, white with tan interior. And yeah, of course I could want it right now. I mean, I want to drive a Ferrari right now. 42 years old. Who doesn't want a Ferrari? But it's not really what I want. I want my Ferrari when it comes. I want it right on time. I want it when I have a nice where am I going to park it? I'm in a home in this nice neighborhood, and I love my home, but this isn't a Ferrari neighborhood. So I know that my Ferrari will come, and I have no doubt, and I'm not even worried about when it comes. I just know it's going to come. So that's one way to kind of view the time span of receiving and achieving and all the things. But today I'm going to tell a couple stories, and this is me being vulnerable, but the reason is because I have kind of been the opposite of the past storytelling person. I don't like to go to the past. I believe maybe that's something that I learned to do when I was younger, was to forget, which creates a happier life. If you're forgetful, you don't remember the pains of the world, you don't remember the bad things that have happened to you. I have definitely learned how to delete my past. And so to bring it up feels victim-y. It feels like I'm complaining. It feels like, why would I talk about those things? They're in the past. And so there are things that have happened, though, in your life, my life, that develop your story. And I met this woman recently, and the impact of her story that she's made on the community that she's in and beyond is a beautiful story. And so it kind of opened my heart up to telling my story, and it's been on my heart to tell some of my story for months. And what better place to do it on a podcast? But I still have that feeling of, when I talk about my story, it's like, I'm just whining and complaining and bringing up stuff that doesn't matter. But because of her and because of how powerful her whole story is, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say a few things, and I'm also going to hope that there is somebody out there that maybe my story will impact. So, all right. So when I was 3 years old, I was raped by a grown man. And I don't know this. I'm 3 years old. My childhood, from being born to the age of 7 with my biological mother, I was adopted at 7, was rough. We were burned with cigarettes, left in apartments for long periods of time until the cops came. Me and my little brother, when I say us, until the cops came to found us. We were constantly in and out of programs. Obviously I was raped. I'm sure we don't even know how many guys were touching me when I was younger. I definitely grew up very sexual. I was already ready to have sex at a very young age, and I didn't really think much of it as I grew up. Well, then when I was 16, I was sat down with the adopted family, who I love so much. My aunt and uncle actually adopted me. So I have 4 brothers, because my younger brother's my biological brother, but my 3 cousins became my brothers. And so I ended up with 4 brothers. So I'm a tomboy. I grew up as a boy, basically. They even put me in Boy Scouts. I was in Troop 139 with the boys. Yeah. Anyways, what a life, right? Lots of boys. So I find out, so they sent me down at the age of 16, maybe 16, 17. I know I ran away from home at 17. I had to bust out. But when I was 16, they sat me down and they told me about this incident that had happened to me at 3 years old. And my bouncy, positive self, my very first reaction was, that's okay. It hasn't affected me until now. Why would I care about something that's happened to me at 3 years old? That was my natural state. So that was my my natural reaction was to just not care. Okay, now that sounds wonderful. That's great. Oh my gosh, people are probably like, oh, I wish I could just not care about all these bad things that happen to me. But really, like, I meet people who they will meet somebody and they'll say, oh, you're adopted. I'm adopted too. And they need to go find their adopted or their families from the past. And I don't quite understand this behavior. I don't know why people go digging. I'm sure you could explain it to me in a way that's very warming and heartfelt. And maybe I'm just cold hearted. I don't know, but I do not understand this behavior. I don't know why anybody would want to go back and find a parent that didn't want them. I don't understand that. Move forward. There's so much creation on this earth and things to do, and there's a reason that they didn't want you. They let you go. Like, it's okay. They're a human. Like, move on. But people spend so much time digging and digging and digging. Okay, so fast forward. I've done a lot of shadow work. I've done a lot of work in my life one, I had to undo all the slutty ways that I was taught, so yeah, I my teenage years and my young teens, but I was a fighter, and that was my aunt mom used to call me stubborn all the time. She'd be like, oh, Rebecca, you're so stubborn, and I thought it was an insult, but as I grew up and now I realize the best quality about me is my stubbornness. I call it stubborn perseverance, because I am a fighter. Every single year I knew I wanted to be better, and I always got better, and I'm always getting better, and I'm getting exponentially better as time goes on. But when I was younger, I knew I did not want to be a slutty girl, and I had now had this information that why that kind of came to be. Now, mind you, I've been raped 2 more times since then in hold down situations where I actually was physically held down. And, of course you blame yourself. It's like, oh God, I shouldn't have been in that situation. I shouldn't have had so much alcohol. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. And so there's a blame there. But to me, those stories are irrelevant, and I'm not going to tell those stories. I learned from them. I became a stronger person. And because of those situations, I stopped putting myself in those nasty scenarios, and I got better and better and better and better and better every single time something like that happened to me. Okay, but back to the whole 16-year-old thing and finding out. I didn't think in that moment that I really needed to do any work around that subject. But what they were saying to me was, yeah, you might not care right now, but your actions and the way you are around boys and the way you are responding to the world says that you have some, nasty gooked up stuff in there. And so they sent me to, a counselor, and I did a lot of therapy when I was younger, and I didn't care about it. Now that I am in my 40s and I've done a lot of shadow work, I definitely appreciate all of that, because you do need to, it's even hard for me to say. You do need to go back. You need to go back into your past, and you need to kind of discover who you are in order to do some self-observation work. So I'm not going to sit here and dig into my past and dig deep, but I'm definitely going to ask a few questions in order to come up with a solution to the newest self I want to be. And so that's kind of what I wanted to express today. It's like really owning up to the fact that you can change. You can figure out on your own. If you need help, that's fine too, but you can figure out on your own, because I've done it, how to repaint the idea of something. It's all perception. You can create a new perception of how something went down. And so you can either look at a situation like that, like, oh, this is awful. I can't believe this happened to this poor little girl, and what bad things are going on in the world. But that doesn't get you anywhere. It gets you absolutely nowhere. Instead, you take the situation and you say, wow, that was a shitty situation. Nobody deserves to go through that. Yes. But how did it develop me? How did it push me to be who I am today? How am I showing up in the world today? Have I done the type of work to heal those types of things that I got? I mean, there's such a blessing. Like, I wouldn't take back any of the bad stuff that's happened to me, because every single time anything bad has happened to me, and there's a lot more, we all have stories, you guys. And I know you might have a story that you think yours is worse than somebody else's, but it's not. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who have really, really cool, sweet lives, but it doesn't matter. You can have a sweet life and go through nasty things. I'm a walking example of this. And you just have to sit down, be willing to change the perception of the situation. So this is not the greatest example of what I'm talking about, but I've just been dying to say this because I used to live in Seagrass on San Pablo, and now I live on San Pablo. And back then, they were building these apartments, and there was no construction on San Pablo. It was just 2 lanes, one way, one the other. And I couldn't stand it. Oh my gosh, I was young. I wanted to go fast everywhere. I really couldn't stand San Pablo. It was like there's dead animals because all the animals just get squished, and you get stuck behind one car and you're just stuck there, and I never want to live on San Pablo ever again. Well, I moved out of my ex-boyfriend's house in July because we were already having a hard time then, and I thought it would save our relationship, but that's a whole nother podcast. So I move out, and my option is to move in with Morgan, who lives on San Pablo. And so I had to sit there and be like, I promised myself I would never live on San Pablo ever again. And so I said, you know what? I am smarter than this now. I'm willing and able to change my perception about San Pablo. So let's play with this a little bit. Okay. So I decided to move in with Morgan, and I'm living on San Pablo with construction. So not only is San Pablo, but it's 10 times worse than you could even imagine it could ever be because there's so much construction and everything's clogged up. Well, I sat down and I rewrote my story about it. I wrote down how I wanted to perceive what San Pablo brought to me. And now when I pull out into construction and I have to sit there for 20 minutes, I don't get upset. I vibe out. I listen to a meditation. I listen to some songs. Another thing is like the cars are coming the opposite direction. So I'm like goofing with them and making them smile because I guarantee you 10 out of 10 cars are miserable because they're complaining about San Pablo. And I'm just like, no, you guys can have fun. And I'm sitting there trying to like light everybody up. I'm like blasting music, or I'll do my jazzercise and I'll just look at people dead in their eyes and jazzercise. And I'm trying to help others have a good time on San Pablo because I've learned how to have a good time on San Pablo. And now because I'm whole in that process, I can help others. So that's just like a good example of how you can change the perception of something. You just have to be willing, and because you're definitely able. Anybody can do it. Just pick a situation in your life where you are having a hard time and switch the perception. And you know what? If it's really that hard, that's the whole fun or nothing way. Quit. Get away from it. If you cannot change your mentality, your mindset on the situation you're in, or a situation you have to stare at daily, or rape, for example. And that goes deep. I've tried to tell people, like, if when you really go deep spiritual and you recognize what Jesus' love was, Jesus did not see illness. He did not ever look at somebody or something as they were unwell. And that's why he had the power to heal. So even if somebody was sitting there right in front of you getting raped, and this is a touchy subject, I get it, because everybody's going to be like, no, I would absolutely help. But if you get angry and judge the rapist, you become the rapist. And I know that that's deep, but it's just, it just is. And you cannot, if you want to help that girl in the rape situation, or if you want to help the rapist heal, you have to see only the wellness within that situation, which is extremely hard, which is why everybody idolizes Jesus so much, because he was a person who absolutely had zero doubt in his ability to only see wellness, and he could heal from that place. So anyways, I don't even mean to go on a rampage about Jesus right now. I just love Jesus so much. And my guru for that is Neville Goddard. I absolutely love Neville Goddard. I love the way he translates the Bible. I love the way he portrays Jesus, and I love that translation of the Bible. Go Jesus, WWJD. So where was I? San Pablo. Good old San Pablo. Okay, so then I'm at the gym, and I'm talking to somebody, and they were like, oh, where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live on San Pablo. And they're like, oh, God, San Pablo is awful. It's taking so long. It's been this and this and that. And I'm like, I didn't argue with them because that's just the way they perceive it. But I just thought to myself, like, wow, I do not even see it like that. Like, I am seeing how quickly they are going. They look going so fast. They're getting, every day I go out there, there's a whole new chunk of road done. They are organized. The guys are smiling. Every time you drive by, I feel like they're my family now, because I'm just waving at them every day, and they see me coming and they're waving. So, just having a good time with San Pablo. But that's the perception of that person. And that person, I guarantee you, doesn't have as happy of a life as I have, because they are complaining about something that, one, they can't change, and two, it's just like not really who a beautiful human infinite intelligence body wants to do. We want to be love, and we want to be light, and we want to be happy. So I'm always trying to find excuses to be happy. So anyways, it's not easy for me to get on a video and talk about some of the things I've talked about in this video, but I hope you guys understand that my whole point of bringing it up is not to make people be like, oh, poor thing. It's to really show that it's possible to go through some things. And obviously I'm not listing all the other things that I've been through in the pain area of life, and I could, but it's more about the fact that you are capable of changing the way you view a situation, and you're allowed to be happy. You're allowed to feel good. You're allowed to let it go. And, and if you can't let it go, find somebody that can help you let it go. But you should let it go, especially because it's in the past. God just never looks back. There is never a time where God is looking back. It's always forward, and you're stopping yourself from moving forward if you don't let those things go. Now, if you want to bring them up to share a story, to teach somebody something or help somebody get through something, that's another thing. This is my first time doing it on a video, but I definitely have brought up my story before to others. If a girl comes to me and she's talking about rape, and there's a very victim-y, can't let it go type moment happening, then I will bring up my story just to be like, hey, I can relate to you, and this is possible. And so that's what I wanted to express today, and bring up some of those hard topics. Okay, so the end on this note, because I did post an Instagram post about this podcast saying that I was going to talk about this situation on podcast number 5. Yay! And then I said I might even end with some rape jokes, but I don't have the balls to do that. So I'm just I do have some pretty good rape jokes. So I just want to touch on the fact that I'm smiling while I'm saying rape and joke in the same sentence, and that can be sensitive to a lot of people. I get that, but I've met enough people on this earth that have gone through some crazy, nasty, shitty things, and they are the most lightheartedest, jokingest, dark humor people. And when I get around them and I can bust out some of my dark humor, gosh, it's a good moment for me, because when you go into the depths of the darkness, you come out with no care, just no fucks given. It's just like, I'm going to appreciate every single moment, and if I can make a joke about it, I'm going to make a joke about it. So I decided not to lay out my rape jokes today. And it's not like I'm laughing at rape, you guys. It's just seriously a commitment to being lighthearted about the beautiful pain on this earth. So I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. I hope you guys appreciate me showing up in this way, and I hope that I am painting what fun or nothing can mean for you guys. It's definitely changed my life, and to commit to a fun or nothing type way where we came to earth to experience, and I want to experience all of the things, not just the good but the bad too, and I want to experience all the range of emotions from good to bad, and I just want to enjoy everything. So I love you, and fun or nothing is my way of life, and I will see you guys on the next podcast number 6, and kisses for you all.